Ahoy there. Today on the Red Sea, what is the most offensive thing a customer has ever said to you? A guy came up to the register and ordered a cheeseburger. You can't mess that up, right? Well, I take his money, give him his change, and a minute later his cheeseburger. A few seconds after I hand him the cheeseburger, he looks at me and goes, "You stupid inbreed piece of malarkey, I wanted a Big Mac." I was 16 at the time and was horrified that a grown man would shout at a freaking kid over something that was not my fault. My manager came over and ripped this guy a new one for being so stupid. I used to work at Wendy's. Once a woman came up and gave me the most complicated, ridiculous order I have ever heard. She was so indecisive and could not decide what she wanted and kept changing things. Plus, we had the oldest cash registers in Wendy's history, from the 1960s. I'm not kidding. It took 5 buttons just to order a small drink. Finally she finished. I ran through her order with her step by step and she approved it. It took us a while to get the order done. It was close to an $85 order. I reviewed her receipt step by step again, made sure everything was in the bags, and gave her the food. 15 minutes later, she comes storming in, holding a bag of fries, saying, "This isn't what I ordered, you stupid bitch. Did you even finish high school, or are you a pathetic dropout drug dealing idiot? You are so beyond incompetent. I ordered 7 large fries, not 6. Give me my other duck-eye fry before I set you on fire." I wish I was overreacting. I will never forget those words. Side note, I was an honors student at a Big Ten university at the time. I was just shocked. One of my co-workers took the fries out one at a time and counted them. There were 7. I do not remember exactly what he said, but it involved asking the woman where the duck she learned to count. I will always be respectful to people who work in fast food. Always. When I worked in a call center doing tech support. 1. Go duck yourself. 2. So you close in a few minutes? Me. Yes, we do. How do you get home? Me. I take the train. Well, I'm going to keep you on the phone until you miss your train. They failed. I worked as a pharmacy tech in college, dispensing drugs to every kind of person imaginable, and some of those people were not very nice. A very large percentage of people did not understand their insurance plan or how deductibles work, and that makes them surprisingly angry. One gentleman whose deductible had not yet been met had been given a prescription for a more expensive antibiotic and the patient cost was over $300. Seeing the price, rather than ask why it was so expensive, he went off on a tirade of anger. He yelled that he was going to wait for me and rape me in the parking lot that night, that he was going to find out where I was living and rape me in my home. I was so upset, and the pharmacist just stood in the back of the pharmacy hiding and did not say anything to this guy. No one at the store did anything at all. Actually, after realizing that the guy was indeed sitting in the parking lot nearly an hour later, I called the cops on him and reported his threats to them. He was removed from the property, but it was a huge scene. I ended up getting written up for calling the cops on this guy by the manager of the pharmacy. I transferred to a new store after that. To sum it up, man threatened to rape me and waited on me outside the store because his prescription was expensive. This guy was trying to get insurance information from his ex-wife over the phone. I was new to the pharmacy and did not realize I could get it off of her profile. She, not realizing she's on speakerphone, said, "What kind of ducking idiots do they have working there?" Everybody in the store heard her say it. The guy saw how embarrassed I was, looked at me saying, "That's why she's my ex-wife." I worked in retail and would often get shoplifters, but we could not do much other than follow them around, and if we saw them put something in their purse/bag/pocket, offer to place that item at the cash register for them. We technically could not accuse them of shoplifting, because if they dropped the item and no longer had it, they could sue the company for false accusations. Really messed up considering it was a Fortune 500 lingerie company. Anyhow, one day I came out from the back and walked into a situation where a frequent shoplifter was having a standoff with my boss, accused my boss of being racist, and then threw cookies at her. Yes, cookies. It was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever witnessed, other than the time I caught a man shoving about 8 bottles of perfume down his pants. "Excuse me, sir. Can I offer you a shopping tote for those perfumes? I see they must be your favorite. Can I interest you in our store card?" Yeah, I do not miss that job. There was a big line at my work and only 2 of us working, so I ended up being the only one on cash with a huge line. I was going fairly quickly and still being cheerful, so I thought I was doing fine. Then this woman about 2 customers back says, loudly, "This dumbhead girl should not be allowed to be on till alone if she is going to be that slow." Also, she said this to her 8-year-old daughter. I used to work at the infamous Ponderosa buffet as a line cook. Fun fact, you can actually order meals there other than buffet. Please. So with these so-called meals, you get choice of side, either french fries or baked potatoes. One day we got slammed with business and completely ran out of baked potatoes and had some in the oven starting to cook. In walks the customer. He stands at an ample 64. Has a wide man, clad in denim and full of beefy desire in his heart. His mustache, thicker than Sam Elliott's. This is an American man made by and for his time. His lips part, and out come the words, buffet and Arabi. The host begins to speak, but is shut down with a baked potato. We currently are all out of potato. We can offer you. The man's face turns a shade of fuchsia not even Crayola could name. His eyes bulge. His lips tighten. The air blowing in and out of his mouth creates a rippling tornado of absolute fury around him. No potatoes. No potatoes? He moves faster than any one of his girth should and ever has since. He pokes his angry face back into the kitchen. No potatoes. What's going on at Ponderosa? No potatoes. You should be fired, he proclaimed, waving a finger at me. His family had to pull him back to the front desk. Him still hollering. He accepted the sad terms we had to give him. French fries. The kitchen was on the other side of the wall from the buffet line, so I walked around to see him eating his steak. He just ate it with pure spite. I have never seen anyone mow on a buttered well-cooked steak with just pure hatred. He did not even enjoy the buffet. He just sighed when he had to pick up the tongs/spoon/ladle like it was not enough. There will always be a baked potato shaped hole in that fat man's heart. I used to work at a cigar shop in Manhattan's financial district. The shop is family owned, and I usually made small talk with the customers. One day a customer and I were having a conversation about cigars, their quality, where the tobacco is grown, etc. When he says, wow, you're pretty smart for a Hispanic. I work at Zellers as a cashier. One day a few months back I have this lady come through my till. She sounded Russian, and so I rang her through. When she started complaining about a can of Heinz beans, I told her that the price was correct, and she argued. I remained calm and then wham. Next thing I know I wake up in the first aid room. Apparently, she was so upset she had pitched the can at my head and hit me hard enough to knock me out. To sum it up, Psycho Russian Ditch knocked me out with a can of beans. I have a very husky voice, and one day, when I was working in a petrol station this dirty old man said to me, ooh, that sounds sore ... I have something you can suck on. I was a babyface 19 at the time, so I told him I was 15. I have never seen anyone turn pale and run away so quickly before. I worked at the paint department at Lowe's, and one time an older black couple said I was making them wait because they were black, even though they were behind 3 people I was helping. I asked them how could they possibly think that, and they said, your ears turned red when you talk to us. That's how we know you're racist. WTF. I have collected some pretty ducked up stories, but as far as offensive ... I was working my store service desk when this dirty, literally dirty, old guy walks up with some opened light bulbs, has muttering to himself for a minute or so before telling me that he wants to return them. Naturally, he has no receipt. Now, we're not supposed to do anything with open bulbs, but I told him that he could replace them if he wanted. He told me our return policy was communism before taking the bulbs and shambling away, muttering to himself. I honestly did not think he'd come back. About an hour later, he comes back with the bulbs and a half-dozen cans of cat food off the shelves. He scowled at me and asked if what he had was good enough. I told him that, again, all I could do was replace the bulbs. He yelled, well, you can keep the son of a ditch and stick it up your ass, and proceeded to throw all of the items at me. I have been called a lot of things and had various items thrown at me, but this is still the only time I have been told to stick stuff up my ass. He missed. By the way, attention folks, if you are enjoying the video, like that ditch, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. Elderly man told me I should be taken out back and shot ... Apparently not having a specific brand of milk is a pretty big deal ... Woman walks up to my register with her 2-year-old, orders a drink. 2-year-old reaches into our tip jar and pulls out a quarter. I protest. Mother responds, it's just a quarter. I give you people too much already anyway. Mother and daughter turn and leave. My first job was as a waitress, and I had a particularly surly old man one day that spent the duration of his meal insulting me, asked me to turn around for him, criticized the way I styled my hair, and overall just gave me a hard time about every little thing. He left without giving me much of a tip, even though I tried my best to remain polite and professional. The lady sitting at the table beside me noticed how rude he was and went out of her way to compliment me and left me a $20 tip on a $40 bill. It was probably my first real life encounter when I realized that despite the grumps in the world, there are people out there that show genuine sincerity and kindness to strangers. People are terrible to wait staff. I once had a man order nachos that had a whole shebang: salsa, sour cream, chili, lettuce, tomato, onion, buttload of shredded cheese sauce and 2 types of beans. This dish is a huge appetizer and can easily be split between 5 people. Well, this man eats exactly half of it and then tells me it's too dry, so I offer to get him more salsa, cheese sauce, and chili, and he said, "Are you ducking stupid?" I said it was dry, not that I need more malarkey to put on it, and I was a little dumbfounded, so I just said something like, "Oh, sorry sir, what can I get you then?" He glared at me and said, "Get me your ducking manager, you incompetent ditch." I do so, and it being a corporate chain, I expected my manager to side with the customer. However, this manager must have also been told off because I overheard him say, "Well, you ate half of it, so that first half must have been fine. Therefore, if you are going to talk like that to me and my staff, I demand you pay for this and get the hell out of here." As the man was leaving, he asked my manager if I was new, to which my manager said, "Well, she's been here for a few months." And the guy looked straight at me. I was cleaning a nearby table and said, "I can tell she's never going to last if she cannot figure out how to do the simplest tasks. She's a complete ducking idiot. Save yourself time and money and fire her already." He was promptly escorted out of the restaurant. Used to work at a bookstore. Some young white supremacists came in. Niana's deal. Swastika patches and all. I had to be the one to help them because they refused to be helped by any of the staff that was not white, and I happened to be the only white staff member. One of them tried to get me to agree with some statement they made, and when I replied, "Do not bring me down to your level," the guy called me a ducking N **** loving race traitor ditch, and they all stomped out of the store. I was pretty shaky afterwards, and I found out after that they had made one of the cashiers cry. She was Indian and very dark skinned, and they had hung out by cash muttering about that fat N **** ditch. Probably my worst experience with a customer, other than the time an old guy threw a nearly full coffee at me for offering to get him a lid. Late to the party. I was working at Panera Bread. Lunch had just started. I worked at the cash register and I did not have anyone to serve. Well, a Korean lady walked in, followed by a white Southern lady walked in. This lady was ducking, pissed off about something. She marched in as the Korean lady walked up to the register. The Korean lady was about to ask a question when the Southern lady grabbed his shoulder and whipped her around. "Who the duck do you think you are?" she said it so loud, like a coach yelling at a player. "In America we open the door for one another. We are polite." Well, she kept going on and on about how rude and obnoxious this Korean lady was. But there was no rebuttal because the Korean lady did not have a wide enough vocabulary to argue back, and she was really shy. I went around the counter and stood in between them. I grabbed the Korean lady so I could look into her eyes. I said, "Do not listen to her. She is crazy." The Southern lady decided to start hating me. "Don't help out that disrespectful malarkey. Get away with this. They need to learn themselves some English before they come to our country and steal our jobs." I turned to the Southern lady and told her to get the F out. I was super pissed off at her racism. She argued with me about how I could not refuse service. My manager took over the situation, and she was told to never come back. This is when I realized that the entire store had been watching me when I told her to get out. I must have looked like such an ass to people who did not know/hear the situation. My manager offered to let the Korean lady have a free lunch, and I said that I would pay for it instead. So I told her to get whatever she wanted, and even grab some sort of pastry to go. She pulled me aside afterward, gave me a hug, and told me that the lady had been following her around the parking lot, beeping her horn every couple of seconds. I never saw either one of them again, and I worked there for 2 years. But it was not until the day I quit that I found out that she had written an about me in the store. I read it every once and a while just because it reminds me of one of the cool things I have ever done. Whoa, hey, take it easy, it is the end of the video. Do not worry, there are many more. Come aboard the ship for more trips. Like and subscribe for more posts from the Reddit Sea Cove. Thanks for watching.